Okay, you're on.
Okay, continuing the solar here. As soon as it is 4 degrees hotter, and only 4 degrees hotter up at your panels, it's going to start moving the water. This pump grabs the water from down here, cycles it through your panels, it then comes down hotter. It'll activate at 4 degrees difference, but the sensor is right at the outside corner. The core temperature of your panels is actually significantly more. Well, when I say significantly more, about 5 degrees more sometimes. And so that water comes down here, and when it returns into your tank, the proximity looks close. It looks like it would just get sucked right through and turn everything off, but it won't. It continues through a tube to the back side of the tank, where it then slowly rises to the same strata of temperature in there. So it is gently heating your tank throughout the day. The combined, the action of your solar loop pumping during the day is kind of akin to having a very low wattage element burning continuously down there. So it's just gently heating everything from the bottom of your tank up, and it's going to probably cycle the 120 gallon volume of your tank many times over during the day. So your cumulative total at the end of the day is going to be pretty far up there. It actually is tuned. I've tuned it to actually go all the way up to 177 degrees down there, and here's why. I saw that it had been dialed back to 140 on the cutoff there, and that's the factory setting is 140 on the high limit. That's not too good for Hawaii, because when you get a crystal clear day out here in Mililani, what can happen is that the panels, as soon as water's an excellent heat sink, it holds heat very well. And so when this pump stops pumping the water, the sun doesn't stop shining. And so as it continues to shine on your panels, the long tubes in your panels start expanding like crazy. And then, God forbid, someone used the water down here, and then this bottom sensor detects that it just got below 140. Now it's time to pump the water. Now you got 140 degree water going up there to where the temperatures might be at 280. So you're going to thermally shock your panels, and it's going to rapidly contract. And if that type of cycling happens enough times throughout the year, okay, its cumulative effect on the plates is going to be one of bending a copper wire. You're going to get metal fatigue. And as a technician, 99% of the times the panels have failed, they failed at the welds, where at the brazing, where the small pipes are brazed to the long pipes there. So to avoid that happening, we have the thing cycle until the bottom of your tank can get to 177. Yes, that's hot. However, when you have the mixing valve here, that will temper it down, but probably it'll only temper it down to about 155, 160. It's still going to be hot. You got to mix them at the faucets. Okay, that's imperative. But what it is doing, it is it's not letting the water stagnate up in your panels. However, you're going to notice later on that there's a bent beach umbrella icon on here. That's the holiday mode on this. The holiday mode, we've bastardized its function. Being as how your set point is at your pump cutout set point is at 177, then having this thing engaged forces your controller to remember that. So if you come within 20 degrees of your set point, cutout set point, anytime during the day, controller simply files it. It keeps bringing the heat down to the tank. It won't cut off till 177. Ideally, it'll never get there. But once it passes 157, it's going to wait. And as it's drinking in the heat, it stops when it's 0 degrees difference. And then as soon as clouds pass over, as soon as night falls, as soon as it's 4 degrees cooler up there, it then reciprocates your differential settings. 4 degrees cooler up there, start your pump. Your pump then turns your absorber plates into radiator plates, and it will radiate the heat out into the atmosphere. It actually cools it down a lot quicker than it drinks it in. But you will also notice that the way that this is plumbed, with your solar lines going all the way to the bottom, that we have created a natural heat trap. So even with that pump cycle functioning like that, for that cool down at night, which it would cool the bottom area down until this registered 95, you're not going to take all the heat out of the tank, because you're going to have a convection current going on down here, but there's going to be a lot of heat trapped up here. We're not going to rob you of all your hot water. We're just trying to cool things down if things ever did get that hot. Okay. So again, 157, it will actually start cooling things down when conditions provide for that, and it will keep doing that until it gets down to 95. And remember this, as soon as someone opens up the hot water faucet in the house, for any reason at all, hot water exits out the top, cold water goes down to the bottom, it turns to 95 like that, and then it stops. You will know that this thing is actively cooling itself down when you see that umbrella icon flashing. That means that it's gone to the cool down mode. I strongly recommend that you keep your default placement of temperature reading at the top of tank setting, so that at night when you're passing by here, if you are constantly getting temperatures of 160 plus, okay, before you guys are using hot water, and it's still like 135 maybe before you guys turn in, especially in the wintertime, then your BTU output is exceeding your guys' consumption, and that can kind of make things run hot. The hotter things run, the less they last. So give us a call then, and I'll show you later on. I do a real nice job. I can paint blockout bars on your panels, starting on the cold side, to reduce the BTU output of your panels, which can easily be scraped off with a razor later on. So it doesn't look all hillbilly like a tarp. You see what I'm saying? All right. So that's pretty much it for your controller setting there. It will always be in the automatic position. There are 3 settings, and it's done by this slide switch. The bottom position being off, and that just means off. Your pump is always off. The only time your pump is going to be off is when these valves are closed. If any one of these 3 valves is closed, then your pump can no longer move the water. These are convenient because if there is ever a leak from here up for any reason, due to damage or whatever, you guys can shut these valves, and now you have isolated your tank's pressure from whatever happened up there. You can still enjoy hot water while buying yourself time while we can get a technician out here to take care of it. But when these things are shut, I said earlier how good of a heat sink water is. The friction of your pump motor turning is going to heat the water that's in there, and if that water can't move anywhere, then it's going to get too hot to touch, throw the bearing. You're paying a lot of money for a pump that you don't need. Okay, so when these are off, your controller is off. Okay, and that's pretty much it for the off setting. Now, the on setting, I'll get to later on. That's for when you folks go on vacation. I'd like you to notice something though. Off and on are irregular commands on this. Something's just not normal on it doesn't mean something's wrong. It's just not its regular mode of operation. And you will notice that no matter where the temperature is being displayed on your controller, if it's in the off setting or the on setting, irregular commands, you're going to notice that the irregular command alternates being displayed with the time, no matter where it's being displayed. However, when you switch to automatic, you're going to see the first 3 letters of the word auto, and then it'll disappear after 3 seconds. That's the center setting. Watch that. Boom, it's gone. Okay, now at night you would notice the backlight is changing between its normal amber and a reddish tone for the alternate settings. But as you can see, when there's plenty of ambient light coming in there, the engineers knew that you would not be able to tell that with the naked eye. And that's why they have the irregular commands flashing, trying to draw your attention to it, to have a look. And then they don't want you getting used to that flashing. So the regular command of automatic doesn't flash. And that way you're at ease when it goes by, but it will be flashing, trying to get your attention when you're in an irregular mode. Okay. That's pretty much it for the solar function.